Well, hello there, and welcome to A Film a Day with me, Jordan Woodley. Well, I thought I would dive back into classic British cinema with another classic British comedy, I suppose, after a few weeks ago, or days, weeks, hard to say, doing Whiskey Galore, because today I looked at the original 1960s School for Scoundrels. Well, it is fascinating, I suppose, to wonder. This is the kind of film that I would love to show, I don't know, maybe like a class of people to see what their perceptions as a 22, especially like maybe a class of like film students, like first year film students, what their perception of this is, you know, being sort of 18 in 2021, in relation to the sex politics of the 1960s, because this is, it's rather fascinating, because as well as being a sort of knockabout, proto-sex comedy, Japes young man comedy, this is almost, I have to assume, one of the early stages of the pickup artist, because that is what it is. The School for Scoundrels is about your main character, Pulfrey. I cannot remember his first name. It's something Pulfrey. I kept hearing Pulfrey. Basically, Ian Carmichael. Basically, Henry, that's right, Henry Pulfrey. Basically being, going about his normal life, constantly being put down, put upon, humiliating himself, wanting to impress a girl, and then after a series of comedy of manners, you might call them, going, sort of finding out about this school, learning the tricks of the trade, and sort of turning it on his abusers, you might want to, sort of the people, his bullies, his societal bullies. And there is something very innocent and sweet-natured about it, because it's a very straightforward story in the respect of, it's very sketch-like, which is he's very put upon, he's very, sort of meek, mild-mannered, but good-hearted, and then, but it's constantly having him being sort of micro. This is definitely the earliest example I can point to of a film of microaggressions, because it is just constantly people trying to undermine his confidence, or steal his girl, or push him down, make him, even in a company that he is an executive at, he is constantly subserving himself to like the guy who who sort of works under him. And there is that sense of this sweet nature put upon guy who you just feel sorry for and go, can't he catch a break? And of course he's the prime example, what you might call it, someone who is the perfect for a book like The Game from the late noughties, for someone who has no confidence, needs a bit of to learn the tricks of the trade, goes to this school for the scoundrels, and all of a sudden comes out on top, starts turning the tables on everyone, and sort of wins the girl. And yet, as I say, the sex politics of it are questionable, because you definitely have the second half of this film being him essentially exploiting people, undermining people, creating, it's rather than lessons in pickup artistry, it's more like lessons in con artistry. I mean, I know they're sort of intertwined, but the idea of manipulating and undermining people through deceit, and even though, if you break down the sort of the structure of the narrative, you have that sense of, he never Actually, he does. Okay, so the love interest, the thing that I was fascinated and I watched fixedly was the love interest, April. And the fact that she is this very sweet natured girl you don't frankly know a lot about. Sort of he meets her through another one of his comic um, idiocies where he splashes, or because of the bus they're getting off, she ends up getting splashed and her tights getting ruined. But because he's sort of sweet and, no harm done principles, she ends up actually taking to him and consequently goes on a date with him, at which point he's then being, as I say, undermined and undercut, and restaurateurs are or basically denying him entry, and then, of course, Raymond turns up and essentially spends the first half of the film trying to steal her. But the thing you realise is she really is not a perpetrator in any of the humiliations that our main guy goes through. She's just a nice girl who goes on a date with him, and again, because of his own self-esteem, he ends up losing. Well, losing is not even the right term. Just she ends up taking a lift from a guy who has a car when our lead, doesn't have a car, or has this crap, terrible embarrassment of a car. And then when Henry then develops this artistry and starts using the tricks, you can't say he doesn't use them on her. Even though, as I say, she doesn't, again, if you're talking about modern sex politics and the way our attitudes to it, she is kind of being exploited in a way that's very unkind and very manipulative and deceitful, coercive. And again, she doesn't deserve it. She never really did anything. She actually quite liked him, and yes, he sort of humiliated himself. But as he gets her to the apartment and then does the thing where he spills the wine on her because he makes the glass... Oh no, she spills the wine on herself, but because he's made the glass greasy. And then, of course, gets her into the dressing gown. And this is at the climax of the film. And then, because at the last minute, he decides he doesn't want to to manipulate her into bed. And then, of course, it all gets exposed. She almost, because he's like, oh, he was going to do it, but he didn't. That kind of champions him. Very strange. You kind of, like I say, 2021, we look at that and go, oh no, that doesn't age well at all. And it's difficult because this is an excellent film. It is a very good film. It has a very funny sensibility to it. The character work works really well. You actually do genuinely want to see him turn the tables and use the tricks he's learned on the people who have, the guys who sold him the car, the love rival, all these people. You actually do want to see him turn tricks on them. But, again, as I say, there is something a little bit creepier about the fact that the ways in which he manipulates our female lead. I mean, I'm aware there was a 2008 remake that I thought, oh, maybe at some point I'll watch that as a point of comparison, and I looked it up, and I watched a trailer for it, and I went, and I was already aware, even back when this film was released in 2008, I was aware that it reviewed horrifyingly. And I looked at the trailer, and again, it's one of those, it was an American adaptation of it, and they didn't quite get it. And it sort of veers more into the comedy styles of that time, which of course it should, because it needs to reflect modern comedy sensibilities rather than 60s comedy sensibilities, but I don't know, it looks like the kind of film that would be a incredibly painful sit, and I've sort of decided against it for now. Who knows? I may still, as an exercise, look at it, because honestly, I want to get my head around this. Because honestly, if they were to make this film now, the obvious thing to me would be to make the female the lead and have her sort of experience all of this from her perspective. It is an excellent film. I mean, despite all I've said and all my sort of trepidations about the sort of the modern view on it, it is an excellent film, and I can see why it is this 60s classic. It's not the funniest thing in the world. It has this more almost embarrassment comedy style to it, where you just feel bad for this guy, and of course the humour comes in the ways that he's put down, and put sort of puts other people down. And there is something a bit of the Jeeves and Wooster about it, if you like that. But I don't know, it's good, but I don't know if it's sort of, I will remember this as one of the great comedies that I've seen recently. Just fun, and as I say, a really interesting study. I would love to read some articles and some essays that feminist writers will have written about this, because, I don't know, I left with some real modern concerns. Anyway, thank you for joining me. If you like this video, hit the like button, comment below and share the video, because it's all helping the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notifications of when new videos are uploaded, and check out my back catalogue of over 200 videos. Follow me on Twitter at Jordan_Woodley, where I tweet about TV shows and films, and I share these videos once they're uploaded to YouTube, either the day of or the day after. Thank you for joining me. Take care.